Yeah, so last week we looked at the distributive law, which is basically if you have A by X plus Y, then this would be equal to A times X, which is AX, plus A times Y, which is AY, right? So last week we looked at going from this to this. So some examples would have been like if we had 5 by 3x plus 2y, well, this would be equal to 5 times 3x, which is 15x, and then 5 times 2y, which is 10y, right? So last week we looked at going from uh, expanding the brackets, right? But this week, I want us to go from this, if you have 15x plus 10y, to 5 into 3x plus 2y. And going from this way to this way, right, is known as factorization. Anybody did factorization as yet? Anybody? First of all, anybody knows what a factor is? Who can tell me what is a factor? Like if I ask you, what are the factors of six? What are the factors of six?
Isn't it 2 and 3?
Yeah, and one and six, right? Because one times six will give me six, and then two times three gives me six as well. So the factors of six are one, two, three, and six, right? So yes, factors are numbers that can go into other numbers without leaving a remainder. And more importantly, for this especially, if you say two multiply by 3, and we can use brackets to represent multiplication, we will get 6, right? So this bracket by this bracket will give us 6. And basically, that is kind of like what factorization is. Because if we take the same example, hold on, 15x plus 10y, right? We know that I just showed you all that 5 times 3x plus 2y is equal to 15x plus 10y, right? So in other words, these are really two factors of 15x plus 10y because 5, when multiplied by 3x plus 2y, will give me 15x plus 10y. All right. But there's a strategy that you can use to be able to factorize 15x plus 10y. So if I just gave you 15x plus 10y and I asked you to factorize it, well, what you would ask yourself is you'll look at 15x and you'll look at 10y and you'll ask yourself, what number can go into 15x and 10y without leaving a remainder? Or what are the factors of 15x and 10y, right? So x and y do not have any common factors other than 1, right? But 15 and 10, they do have a common factor. What number can go into both 15 and 10, guys?
5.
5. So 5 is a number. 5 is the highest common factor of 15x and 10y. And you want to look for the highest common factor, right? So you take 5, you put that on the outside, and then you put brackets, and you say, well, 5 can go into 15x 3x times, since 5 times 3x is 15x. And then 5 can go into 10y 2y times. And that is how you factorize 15x plus 10y. Because when you multiply 5 by 3x plus 2y, you will get back 15x plus 10y, right? Another example might be, let's say we have 5x plus 5y. What is common here again between 5x and 5y?
5 again.
5 again, right? Because both 5x and 5y, they both have 5 in common. So you take 5 on the outside of the brackets and you say 5 could go into 5x, x times, right? Because 5 times x will give me 5x, and 5 could go into 5y, y times, since 5 times y gives me 5y, right? What about if I had 12x plus 16y? What is the highest common factor of 12 and 16? Because we already know x and y does not have a common factor other than 1.
Four.
Yes, 4 is the highest common factor. So we take 4 on the outside, and 4 into 12x will be 3x, and 4 into 16y will be 4y. And guys, to check if your answer is correct, just multiply the brackets out and see if you get back the original thing. So say 4 times 3x, well, that would give me 12x, and then 4 times 4y would give me 16y. So you see how these are the same? That means you have correctly factorized. That's another one. Let's say we have, let me show you this one. If you have x plus x squared, can anybody tell me what's common between x and x squared? Faith, what do you think is common between x and x squared?
Uh, I'm not sure, but I'll guess.
Yeah, take a guess.
1.
Well, yeah, one is common. One is a common factor of all terms because one could go into every single number. One is a factor of every single number. But what about x? Do you think x could go into both x and x squared?
Yeah.
It can, right? So the common factor between x and x squared is actually x. So let's factorize this. So you'll say x could go into x. How many times can x be divided by itself? How much did you say, babe?
1.
Once, right? So x could go into x one time. And then what about x squared? X could go into x squared how many times? Or you know what you have to ask? You know what's another question you could ask yourself too when you're factorizing? You can ask this x times what will give me x squared? X times what will give me x squared, guys?
X.
That's right. X times itself will give me x squared. So that means to factorize x plus x squared, it'll actually be x by 1 plus x. Because look at this, guys. If I multiply out the brackets that we know how to do, I'll say x times 1 will give me x, and x times x gives me x squared, right? So the common factor there will be x. Okay. Um, let's do some more. We're gonna do a good bit like last time. Oh, and it could be, you could have different signs as well, You know, like it doesn't have to be the same sign all the time. Okay, so wait, was the last one 3 or 4? Right, so we're on 4. Let's say we have 64a squared minus 8a. So this, all the ones before, it was either the number or the letter, but this one is a combination of both. So when you have a combination of both, look at um, the number part first. So 64 and 8. What is the highest common factor of 64 and 8?
8.
Yes, 8, right? Because 8 can go into 64 and 8 can go into 8. And what about a squared and a? What's the highest common factor of a squared and a? This is just like the
8.
x squared and x. Yes, it's a, right? So the highest common factor of 64a squared and a, 8a will be, that will actually be 8a, right? Now 8 can go into 64 8 times, and a can go into a squared 8 times. Minus, because this is a minus here. So 8a could go into 8a one time. right? And guys, to check if your answer is correct, you multiply out the brackets. So you say 8a times 8a, which is 64a squared, and then 8a times negative 1 will give me minus 8a. All right. Let's do Joshua. What do you think about 25x minus 10? What is the highest common factor there?
5.
Yes, 5, right? So, and then we only have x. So x would not be part of the highest common factor. So it'll be 5. And you ask yourself, so two things you could ask. You could either ask, what is 25x divided by 5? Or you can ask, what times 5 will give me 25x? Which way are you doing it, Josh?
25 divided by 5.
Okay, and you would get,
I will get 5x.
that's right. And then 5 into minus 10 will give me
2.
minus 2. Right? And of course, to check your answer, you always check it back. 5 times 5x is 25x, and 5 times negative 2 is minus 10. All right. Um, okay, Safira, you could talk or you're eating.
I could talk.
Okay. What about 6x plus 6y? What will be the common factor there?
It'll be 6.
It'll be 6. And what do you think will go in the brackets?
1.
No, because you'll have to say 6x divided by 6, which will just leave me with x, right? Because remember, it has to be 6 times this to give me back 6x, right? So it has to be x. And what would be the second term in the brackets?
Will it be Y?
That's right. All right. And of course, to check back your answer, you always say you multiply the brackets, right? So 6 by x is 6x and 6 by y is 6y. So you know that your answer is correct. Once whatever you get in the brackets multiplies to give you back the original expression that you're trying to factorize, you know that your answer is correct. Okay, Josh Perez.
Yes, miss.
Tell me, 9x plus 9y.
The highest common one is 9, and
Yeah.
you just multiply them by x plus y.
That's right, because you'll say 9 could go into 9x x times, and 9 could go into 9y y times. And 9 times x is 9x, and 9 times y is 9y. Good. Faith,
Yeah.
so what about mx plus my? What is common there?
M
M is correct. So what would go in the brackets? M by what?
X
Uh-huh.
plus Y.
Good. Um, wait, hold on. Some people are missing, like Jemiah. Okay. All right, Joshua, you again. Joshua, what about QX plus QY?
It will be Q,
Uh-huh.
open brackets, x
Uh-huh.
plus y,
Perfect.
close bracket.
Thank you. Safira, what about ZX plus ZY? What would that be?
In fact, it will be Z.
Uh-huh.
It will be X plus Y.
Good. All right, everybody gets the hang of that one. Josh Perez,
Yes, miss.
what about 8x minus 8y?
The highest one would be 8,
Mm-hmm.
and that would mean x take away y.
Correct. X takeaway y is correct. Thank you. Um, Faith, what about, oh, well, I didn't show you all one with a negative number, so let me actually show you all. If you have a negative number, what would happen? So if you had negative 3x plus 3y, All right. Well, it's clear to see that the highest common factor there is 3, right? Because 3 is common to negative 3x and 3y. But what we will do is we will use negative 3 as the number on the outside. And in the brackets, well, negative 3 times x will give me back negative 3x. But negative 3 times negative y will give me positive 3y. Right? Because you have to be careful with those signs, right? So you have to make sure that your signs are correct because negative 3 times x will give me negative 3x, and then negative 3 times negative y will give me positive 3y, which is what I was trying to get here, right? So be careful with those with the different signs. All right, so given that piece of information there, Faith, help me with another one like it. So if I had, for example, negative 7x plus 7y, Faith, what would it be?
Negative 7, open
Yeah.
brackets, x minus y.
That's right. All right, because you want to make sure that you get your signs correct. Oh shucks, I went to 13, that was actually 14. I mean, I went to 14 and that was actually 13. Okay, good. Safira, what about negative 8x plus 8y?
It will be negative 8 of them.
Negative 8, and what goes in the brackets?
It will be 8, sorry, x minus y.
Yes, x minus y. All right, guys, so you got to be careful with the signs. Okay, now let's look at some with like different numbers. Um, okay, Josh, P,
Yes,
right?
miss.
26p squared plus 6p. What do you think is the highest common factor there?
36.
Because 26 can't go into 6, right?
Oh, 12.
Well, it would have to be 6 because remember, it has to be able to go into 6 as well.
Oh, yeah.
So it has to be 6, yeah? So it'll be 6. And then what about the p's part?
Um, you have to multiply it by p.
Well, it will be, let me help you out. The highest common factor here will be 6p. The reason is that 6 can go into both 36 and 6, and then it will be p because p can go into both p and p squared. So we now factorize. We say 6 could go into 36 6 times, and p could go into p squared p times. And then 6p could go into 6p, well, 1 time. And if you're not sure, check it back to see 6p times 6p will give me 36p squared because p times p is p squared. And then 6p times 1 will give me 6p.
Oh, yeah, miss, I
Right,
now see
Josh?
it.
Yeah, stay with me and do another one like it, right? So what about 25x squared minus 5x?
Um, the highest one would be 5x,
Yeah,
and then you'd want to multiply it by 5x,
yeah.
and then you would have to plus 1
Well, minus, because this is a
or
minus. Yeah,
minus 1.
yeah, minus 1, because 5x times minus 1 will give me back 5x, right? Faith,
Yeah,
what about 49r squared plus 7r?
it would be 7r,
Yeah,
then it will be 49r.
well,
No, what am I saying? 7r
yeah,
plus 1.
good. because 7r times 7r gives me 49r squared, and 7r times 1 gives me 7r. Good job. Okay, Joshua, what about 144a squared plus 12a?
Then it will be 12a,
Mm-hmm.
open brackets, 12a
Yeah,
plus 1.
perfect. Good. Safira,
Yeah.
what about 16x squared take away 4x?
Um, it'll be 4x.
Yeah, 4x. Mm-hmm.
It'll be 4x. 4x.
4x again, yeah.
Um, take away 1x.
Perfect. Take away 1. Good job. And now, Josh, back to you. What about 81x squared plus 9x?
The highest one would be 9x,
Yeah,
and then you have to multiply it by 9x
yeah,
plus 1.
perfect. Good, 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 good. So far, so good. Um, okay, good. So we're gonna pause. Wait, are you all writing these down?
Yes,
I,
miss.
yeah, I
Okay, good, because I'm gonna write some for you all to do for me now. Let me just pause this for a second. Yeah, so like in number 31, we can see that 81, 27, and 36 all have the common factor 9, because 9 could go into all of those numbers, as well as A, right? A is common to all of them. So the highest common factor of those three will be 9A. All right, 9A could go into this whole thing. Well, 9 could go into 81 9 times. A could go into A once. You don't need to write 1. And then just B, right? Because remember, when I multiply 9A by whatever this is, I must get back 81AB. So 9 times 9 is 81, and A times B is AB. Similarly, 9 could go into 27 3 times. A could go into A once, and then you'll have C. 9A times 3C will give me 27AC. And then finally, 9A into 36AD will be 4D, because 9A times 4D will give me 36AD. So just be mindful of that, okay? Right. So this is factorizing, guys. And the next thing that we're going to look at today is finding the highest common factor of some algebraic terms. All right. Now, that might look, we have done that because to factorize, you always use the highest common factor. Oh, let me show you all something. You see in number 22 here? All right, so let's look at number 22. It's 36x plus 12, right? Now, the reason you use the highest common factor is, well, if I were to just use 6, for example, because 6 is a common factor of 36 and 12, since 6 can go into both 36 and 12, right? So if I had used 6 to factorize, I would have gotten, well, 6 will go on the outside, and then 6 times 6x gives me 36x, and 6 times 2 gives me 12. But as you can see, 6x and 2, they have a common factor again. So what I would have to do in this case is I would have to factorize within those brackets again. So I'll keep 6 on the outside, and I'll factorize the 6x plus 2. The common factor between 6x and 2 is 2. So 2 could go into 6x 3x times, and 2 could go into 2 once. right? And all of that is within these big brackets. And now I would remove the big square brackets by multiplying 6 by 2, which will give me 12 by 3x plus 1. And this was the answer you would have gotten initially if you had used 12 as the highest common factor, which it is. So this is to tell you if you factorize and you still have numbers, well, terms within the brackets that can be factorized even further, you have to factorize them further, right? Because the question would be to completely factorize the expressions. So that's why you use the highest common factor. If you are factorizing and you use just a common factor, the answer may not be the simplest one. The answer might still, you might still be able to factorize, like in this question here, question 22, and also in question 27. Like 16y and 8, they also have a common factor of 4 or even 2, right? So if I had used 4 instead, I would have had 4 on the outside, 4 by 4y minus 2. But if I look inside these brackets, this is not completely factorized because 4 and 2 can still be further simplified since they have a common factor. So I will factorize again. I'll say for the common factor between 4y and 2 is 2. So it'll be 2 by 2y minus 1. And then I remove those external brackets by multiplying 4 by 2, which will give me 8 by 2y minus 1. And that is the fully factorized answer, right? So it's important when factorizing to use the highest common factor. Is that okay, guys? Josh, well, two Joshes and Faith and Safira. Is that okay, loves?
Yes, miss.
Yeah.
Right. So always try to make sure you use the highest common factor. So let's look at using the highest common factor when you have indices in it, right? This is a little trickier, but I'll give you all the little tips and tricks, right? So let's say, so this is looking at the highest common factor with the terms that have indices. Right? So let's say we had to determine the highest common factor of these algebraic terms, right? We have a squared b to the power of 4 c cubed, so that's one term, and then a cubed b to the power of 2 c to the power of 4 and d to the power of 3. That's another term. And then, oh, sorry, I wasn't supposed to write a comma between here. Sorry. One moment. Yeah. So this was d to the power of 3. And then the next term is a to the power of 4, b to the power of 3, c to the power of 5, and d to the power of 4. So to determine the highest common factor here, here's how you do it, guys. You look for first of all, you look for the letters that are common to all of them, right? So the letters that are common to all of them would be A, B, and C, right? D is not common to all of them, so D will not be included in the highest common factor. D is only common to this term here and the second term and the third term. So D cannot be involved in the highest common factor, right? The next thing that you do is you choose the index, the lowest power of each quantity, right? So meaning you choose the lowest power of A, B, and C that is common to all of them. So if we look at A, the powers of A here are, the powers of A are 2, 3, and 4. So the lowest power, you'll have to choose the lowest power of all of them, right? So the lowest one there between 2, 3, and 4 is 2. So it'll be A squared. And then we look at B. The lowest power of B is, the powers of B are 4, 2, and 3. So the lowest power of B there is 2. And then you look at the powers of C, which are 3, 4, and 5. So the lowest power there would be 3. So the highest common factor of all of these three terms will be A squared, B squared, C cubed. So the tips or the tricks would be to, one, choose the letters that are common to all of them, right? Choose the letters that are common to all, right? Which is why we excluded D. All right. And then also choose the lowest power of each letter. And that is what will make up your highest common factor, right? The lowest power of each letter. And those two would make up your highest common factor. So let me do an easier example now just to get the hang of it, right? So like if you had x to the power of 3, x to the power of 4, and x to the power of 5, the highest common factor here would be x to the power of 3 because it's the lowest common factor. All right? If I had, let's say I had x to the power of 3, y, x to the power of 4, y squared, and then x to the power of 5, y cubed, the highest common factor here would be x to the power of 3, y. Because, well, it will be x and y because x and y is common to all of them. And then the lowest powers of x and y. So the lowest power of x would be between 3, 4, and 5 will be 3. The lowest power of y, well, here, when y is by itself, the power is just 1. So the lowest power of y between y squared, and y cubed will be, the lowest power will be 1. Right? So the highest common factor will be x cubed y. So the two steps to identify the highest common factor when you have terms with indices is to first choose the letters that are common to all of them, and then choose the powers, the lowest power of each letter. All right. So in this example, a squared b to the power of 4c cubed, a cubed b squared c to the power of 4d cubed, and a to the power of 4 b cubed c to the power of 5 and d to the power of 4. The letters that were common to all of them were A, B, and C. And then the lowest power of each, well, you look at the power of each of them and choose the lowest number. So it was 2, 3, and 4 for A, and that's why I chose 2. For B, the powers were 4, 2, and 3. So the lowest number there is 2. That's why this was B squared. And then with C, you had 3, 4, and 5. So the lowest power there is 3. So the highest common factor of these three terms will be A squared, B squared, C cubed. Similarly, in question 2, we have x cubed, x to the power of 4, x to the power of 5. So the letter that's common to all of them is x, and the lowest power of all three terms will be 3. And in question 3, x cubed, y to the power of 1, x to the power of 4, y to the power of 2, x to the power of 5, y to the power of 3, the letters that are common to all of them would be x and y. And then the lowest powers of each, well, for x, it was among 3, 4, and 5. So the lowest of those three is 3. And then with y, the powers were 1, 2, and 3. So the lowest power is 1. You don't need to write 1. It's understood that when you have a letter by itself, the power is 1. Since any number, right, raised to the power of 1 is itself. Any number raised to the power of 1 is just itself, right? So let's go through an exercise. Josh, P, you are going to do this first one with me, okay, Josh?
Yes, miss.
All right. So remember the rules, right? You choose the letters that common to all of them, and then you choose the lowest power of each of them. All right? I should actually take this and copy it and put it on the next page so that it's there for you to see. I don't think it copied. Hold on. Let me try again. I don't think it copied on this one, but that's all right. I'll walk you through it anyway. All right, so Josh, you're helping me determine the highest common factor, of these terms. So the first term is x to the power of 2, y to the power of 3, and z to the power of 5. That's term 1. Term 2 is x to the power of 3, y to the power of 3, and z to the power of 4. And then the third term is x to the power of 4, y to the power of 4, z to the power of 5. Sorry, I didn't mean to write this comma there. Right, so these are the terms. Right, Josh? So let's determine the highest common factor. The first step is to choose the letters that are common to all of them. So what would the letters be?
That would be X, Y, and Z.
Right. So we know that X, Y, and Z, some powers of those will make up the highest common factor. And the second step is to choose the lowest power of each letter. So the powers of X are 2, 3, and 4. So which is the lowest power there?
2.
Right? So x squared will make up the highest common factor. What about y? You have
3.
3, 3, and 4. Yep. And then z would be what?
4.
Correct. 4. So the highest common factor will be x squared, y cubed, z 4. Great. Safira,
How did I know you was gonna pick me?
you're probably psychic. You gotta look into that career path. 10x cubed, y squared. Oh, guys, in Trinidad, the people in Trinidad, on Friday, it has this kind of event in Sapa. It's like there's a spelling bee and there's like other activities and stuff. If you all want to go, I will be there. I'll send it. I'll send a picture of it in the group chat. And it's free. It's free for kids, and I think for adults it's $50. Okay, Safira. What do we have common to all of them? First of all, before we look at the powers, what's common to all of them?
We have X and Y.
5x and y, right? So 5x and y. 5 because 5 could go into 10, 5, and 15, and x and y because x and y is in all of them. Okay, so let's look at the powers now. So the powers of x would be 3, 2, and what would be the power of x in this one, Safira?
Would it be 1?
It'll be 1. So what is the lowest power there?
1.
1. So we'll just leave x by itself. And then what about y?
It'll be 2. 2 power 2.
Correct. It'll be 2. So the highest common factor of those three will be 5xy. Thank you, Safira. Safira, who do you think you're gonna call next? Wait, I'm gonna call them and then you tell me if you knew.
Okay.
Faith.
Oh my God. How did you know? Wait, hold on. How did I know? How did I know?
I'm telling you, you have a future here. Faith, are you there, babe?
Yeah.
Okay. So Faith, it's Safira's fault that I called on you. All right. So let's say we had um 2a squared b cubed 4a cubed b fourth. Oh, sorry, I keep writing a comma between the term. You don't write a comma between the term, right? You only write a comma to separate terms. And then the final one is 6 um a b squared. All right, Faith, help me out here.
So you put in 2AB,
Yeah,
then the lowest is 1 for
yeah,
A,
yeah.
and for B, the lowest is 2.
Perfect. So the highest common factor is 2ab squared. And Joshua, you and I are gonna do the last one. Josh, are you there, love?
Yes, please.
Okay. So let's see. Now, Josh, for yours, we have like fractions, right? So R2s over 9p. Now, the same thing applies, okay? It's the same rules that apply. So you're just going to be looking at the numerator and the denominator in this case. But it's the same rules. Cool?
Yeah.
All right. So R cubed s to the power of 4, and all of that is over 3p cubed. And then finally, r to the power of 4, s to the power of 5p, no, not p, cube, all over 27p squared, right? So let's look at the numerator first. Tell me what would be the terms for the numerator.
Um, it will be R,
Uh-huh.
R squared,
Yes.
and P.
Well, for the numerator, we still have s, right?
Yeah.
Because s is common to all of them. So it'll be r squared because 2 is the lowest power of r and also s. But what would be the power of s?
It will be just S.
Yeah, it'll just be s because the powers of s would be 1, 4, and 5. Okay, and q does not belong there because all of the numerators do not have q. And what about the denominator?
It will be P. Just P.
And what about the numbers 9, 3, and 27?
It will be 3.
That's right. So it'll be r squared s over 3p. Do you guys feel you understand how to identify the highest common factor? I feel like when you're looking at the numbers, it kind of looks a little if you just look at the terms, it could be a little confusing. But if you use a strategy of first identifying the letters or numbers that are common to all, and then choosing the lowest power of each letter or each term, then I think that would make it simpler, right? Like taking it by a step-by-step approach. And I should have actually used the word term over here, right? Because in some of them it had numbers. So the lowest power of each term or letter or right or number. Because a term could be a letter or a number. Good. So you all ready to try out some? Guys, are you guys ready to try out some? Or do you need me to do more examples with you? Ouch.
You could
For examples was
Okay. Gonna do two more examples and then you're gonna try some for me. Okay. So let's see. Let's say we have a cubed, b to the power of 5, and c to the power of 4. That's the first term. The second term is a squared, b to the power of 4, c to the power of 5, and d to the power of 2. And then finally, a to the power of 4, b to the power of 3, c to the power of 4, and d to the power of 3. That's the third term. Okay, guys, help me here. Which letters will make up the highest common factor?
A, B, and C.
Yes, A, B, and C. A, B, and C. And the powers, we have to look at the powers of each of them, right? So A, the power is 3, 2, and 4. So the lowest of 3, 2, and 4 will be 2. And then with B, it's 5, 4, and 3. So the highest power there will be 3. I mean, the lowest power. What am I saying? The lowest power would be 3. And then for C, we have 4, 5, and 4. So the lowest power there is 4. Okay, so the highest common factor of that one will be a squared, b cubed, c to the power of 4. Let's look at another one. Say we have p cubed, q to the power of 4, r to the power of 2. That's the first term. P to the power of 4, q to the power of 5. That's the second term. And then p to the power of 5, q to the power of 3, and r to the power of 4. So the highest common factor here. Faith, what would be the letters that make up the highest common factor?
P and Q.
Yes, it's going to be P and Q. And then the powers, well, for P we have 3, 4, and 5. So the lowest power of P will be 3. And then Q we have 4, 5, and 3. So that would be 3. So P cubed, Q cubed. All right. Guys, the reason, let me show you all the reason behind it. The reason that you choose the lowest power is, okay, let's say we will remember the factor has to be a number that could go divide equally into the term, right? So like if you're looking at P squared, p cubed, and p to the power of 4, then the highest common factor will be p squared. The reason behind it is if we look to divide p squared, p cubed, and p to the power of 4 by p squared, look what would happen, right? P squared literally means P squared literally means P times P, right? So if I'm dividing P squared by P squared, I will have P times P divided by P times P. That's what I will have. And this will cancel with this. So this would actually be equal to 1. Right? Similarly, P cubed will be P times P times P. And if I divide that by P squared, it will be all divided by P times P. But what would happen here? This will cancel. And well, you'll just end up with P, right? Because P times P is P squared times P will give you P cubed. And then if you were looking at P to the power of 4 divided by P squared, it will also completely divide there because again you have this and this, this and this. So you'll end up with p squared, right? So the goal is to completely eliminate the denominator. right? So just get 1 as the denominator. But if I had mistakenly chosen p cubed, for instance, when I divide p squared, if I was to divide p squared by p cubed, p cubed does not completely go into p squared without leaving a remainder, because p squared is just p times p, and p cubed is p times p times p. So what would happen here is that the numerator will fully cancel, but you would still have a remainder on the bottom of p. So this is why you choose the lowest power of p, because all of them would be able to be divided by it without it leaving a remainder. So that's the reasoning behind why we choose the lowest power of the term. All right. So I'm going to send you all now some to do for me, right? I'm going to write it on the screen. And same thing, you're going to write it down in your do it in your notebooks and send me a picture when you're finished.